Come on up, young lady. Follow the instructions of Deputy Garrett. Please.
Turn around with your right hand. You solemnly swear affirm that the testimony you shall give this court should be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth that you got. You may be seated. Please state and spell your name for the record.
Elizabeth Stansberry. My last name is spelled Stansbury.
You may proceed, Mr. Clay.
Ms. Stansberry, do you know the defendant in this case, Andrea Sneiderman?
Yes, I do.
Do you see her seated here in this courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Could you point her out and describe what she is wearing, please, ma'am?
She's wearing a green sweater and a print shell under it.
And may the record reflect that the witness has identified the defendant.
Record may so reflect.
Okay. How long have you known her?
I first met her when our children were in pre-K together in 2009.
When you say pre-K, where would your children have been at pre-K together at that time, ma'am?
Dunwoody Prep.
So how many kids do you have?
I have one.
Was that her daughter or her son at Dunwoody Prep at that time in 2009?
That was her daughter, Sophia.
Were you friends with her back in November of 2010?
We were becoming closer friends. She had actually come to my son's birthday party the spring before.
Okay. Had you had much contact with she and her husband as a couple?
No.
Let me direct your attention back to November the 19th of 2010. Did you have occasion to be at Dunwoody Prep at that time?
Yes.
Did you have, okay, I'm sorry. Did you have something to say other than yes?
Yes, it's fine.
Okay. And did you have occasion to come into contact with an individual by the name of Donna Formato at that time?
Yes.
Was there a conversation about the events of the preceding day as related by Ms. Formato?
Yes.
Could you tell us what Ms. Formato said?
Sure. I specifically went to Dunwoody Prep to give support to the teachers. I had been...
Just one second. Lawyers, approach for a minute.
I'm Jeff Hellinger along with Jay Strongwater, the fine attorney who has been joining us all day long. What's going on now, Jay?
There is something called a sidebar. The judge wants to talk to the attorneys about either the form of the question or the topic that they want to inquire into. And it's something that needs to be said without the jury hearing it. And he doesn't want to have the jury go back into the jury room that takes too much time.
Here's a quick question from Verena, who says, when a witness speaks during a break with another witness while still being subpoenaed, does that have any consequences?
I think they impeached her on it. They brought it to light so the jury knows that the two witnesses spoke to each other. There's the rule of sequestration that says one witness should not talk to another witness until they're released.
From Israel, how would you grade the defense team job so far? I don't think they're doing a very good job, says Israel.
Time will tell. It looks like they're poking holes where they need to be poked and addressing the charges in general in a sweeping manner. And we'll have to find out what the jury thinks.
It's 2 minutes after 4 o'clock right now. Elizabeth Stansbury, that's who you're looking at right now. She had a child at Dunwoody Daycare in the fall of 2010. Friends with Andrea Sneiderman. Earlier today we heard from Tammy Parker, who is also a friend of Andrea, an attorney from Emory University now, working for a development firm in Atlanta. She was very strong on the stand today, very controlled, as you would expect from an attorney.
Yes.
Any other thoughts here as we roll into about the final hour of all of this?
Again, it looks like they're trying to confront the strong witnesses, Mr. Schneiderman and Ms. Citron, in trying to diffuse or actually just juxtapose these witnesses' recollection versus the witnesses that the state has called.
This is from Jonathan Holm in Bristol, United Kingdom. Hey, hello guys. I'm finding this case fascinating. Thanks for the excellent coverage. A lot of the charges Andrea Sneiderman faces are inextricably linked to others. Are the jury going to find it difficult to separate the issues? Because to me the state is going to have a problem in closing, linking evidence to the charge. It seems like the defense rebuttal will be more straightforward.
Again, one of the problems with 13 counts is that jurors may compromise and say, well...
By compromises, what do you mean?
They may say, we've been here 3 weeks, I want to go home. I'm not sure about count 10. You're not sure about count 2. Why don't we just split the baby and take a count there of conviction and you get your count of not guilty.
Are deals like this always cut? Is that...
It's possible, and that's why I think the state brings multiple charges to almost invite a compromise verdict. And the problem in these cases is that the jury thinks they're doing the defendant a favor by limiting the number of convictions, when in fact they're going to be, if they get convicted on one, they'll be sentenced as if they were convicted of all.
Judge Adams has had more to handle today. He's had to decide whether to throw out all of the charges, which he refused to do. He has had to take more of an active role on this day 7 of this trial.
Correct, because he was called upon by the lawyers to see how the case should move forward. The state rested. He had to make certain findings regarding the adequacy of the indictment itself, the charging document, and then he had to decide whether the state's evidence met the burden of proof to go forward. So
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So he had to make findings. Again, he had to go back through the 6 days of testimony, had to check the case law that the parties were citing to see whether which side was correct.
I've heard from our friend Blue Jay, who we have heard from over the last couple of weeks with always some interesting thoughts. And her question is this: is it just me, or is there a delay on this live stream? It is out of sync right now. We will look into that. We'll try to get you an answer on that to see if we're having any issues as it relates to 11alive.com or 11.2, which is our digital channel. But so far, Blue Jay, I don't think we're having any problems right now. You are the only one that we have heard from that is having some issues. So I apologize for that. Our director is Derek. He shakes his head. He says everything is cool, that we believe everything to be okay.
Again, what you can't see on the screen is the attorneys and the judge discussing either a point of law or point of fact and about how it should be addressed with this witness.
If you have any questions for Jay Strongwater and yours truly, easy to get a hold of me. I am on Twitter at 11Hullinger, Hullinger, and my email is the initial J, Hullinger, at 11alive.com. And we have been handling a lot of questions today, and hopefully we have been able to answer many of these questions that you have had for us today. It is a very interesting trial. I know as we take breaks and I walk around a little bit in Decatur to get a cup of coffee or a cold beverage, I am surprised by the number of people, Jay, that come up to me and ask me about this trial, people that maybe you would not expect. It is a trial that when some people send us emails and say, wait a minute, this is not interesting, give me back my Weather Channel, the truth is we're getting a lot of people who are plugging into this, and having lived in Atlanta a long time, I mean, you get kind of a public sense of what catches people's fancy, and this is a case, even with the perjury, with the obstruction, without the murder charges, that has caught a lot of attention.
That's correct, and I don't think it's limited to a particular community. I think the background to these perjury charges got everybody's interest. I think at first there was shock that someone would be shot outside a daycare center dropping off a child. As the facts developed, it became more and more enticing and interesting. And even without the murder charge, people want to see a conclusion to this. I think there's also strong opinions in the community, regardless of what they're seeing or hearing on TV.
Well, if you are just joining us and are plugging in for this final hour or so of testimony on this day 7 on this Tuesday, the major headline has been today that Andrea Sneiderman is weighing the possibility, as is her defense team, as to whether she is going to take the witness stand and will be part of the festivities. We will find that out in the next day or so. Back to the courtroom. So we are back up. I was checking out a couple of emails here, Jay. What did I miss?
Oh, you left it with the outstanding question is whether Andrea Sneiderman will
That's right.
decide whether to testify. You can be sure that they're caucusing tonight to go over the testimony they were able to elicit from their friendly witnesses, talk to Andrea about what else needs to be said, and come to a group consensus about whether the case can be made with or without her testimony.
This is from Barbara Rea, and her question to you is this: should not... all right, we will get to Barbara's question when we come back.
Take a brief matter up. Just step into the jury room, follow the instructions of Deputy Garrett. Ma'am, just come down for a moment, please. Deputy Garrett, it'll be about 10 minutes.
All rise.
Okay, we are back once again. We had a little time to chat during a little bit of discussion in front of Judge Adams, and now the judge has decided to take a 10-minute break, so we'll kind of watch that. It's about 9 after 4, so we'll head back into the courtroom about 19 after. We were bringing up the name from my email account. Barbara Rea has sent a question for you, Jay. It says, should not a lawyer know better than to speak to another witness during break?
She is not a litigator. I think we're talking about Tammy Parker. She works for a real estate development company. She is a real estate lawyer. What she said may have been inadvertent. I don't think there's any accusation that they compared notes or were coaching each other. It might have been more or less just a greeting that Judge Adams tells the jury they shouldn't exchange, but not to take an insult if